Please subscribe.
The more things remain equivalent, the more things change. The current year's 2020 Subaru Outback does its best to persuade customers that it's a similar hybrid utility again on looks alone. Try not to be tricked. The current year's Outback is new with refreshed powertrains and infotainment, and progressively usable freight room. The little changes had a major effect. What didn't change? The Outback is still monstrously competent and an amazing worth. We wouldn't fret either. Our 6.4 generally speaking rating here needs security scores considered in, which Subaru has exceeded expectations at previously. We anticipate that our scores should rise. Style and execution. The 2020 Outback delicately overhauled the fixings yet didn't change the formula for the Subaru wagon's prosperity. It's as yet a tall wagon with intense cladding underneath. Creators went for a climbing boot look with the new Outback by including unpretentious twists and stout sideboards. Mission achieved. Within is ruled by a major 11.6-inch touchscreen in many models, with an agreeable unwashed and prepared inside that is prepared for experience. Under the hoods of most Outbacks will be a 2.5-liter level 4 that makes 182 strength, obtained from the Forester. It's combined to a ceaselessly factor-programmed transmission, CVT, and all-wheel drive as standard hardware. It's simply enough power, however no more. An uprated 2.4-liter turbo 4 lifted from the Ascent is discretionary on top trims and is less parched than the level 6 it replaces. Its 260 horsepower isn't just increasingly incredible for mountain passes, it's additionally more congenial with a superior throttle tune than the Bass vehicle. Despite what's under hood, the Outback's blessing is inconceivable rough terrain ability and poise. The Subaru wagon has 8.7 creeps of ground leeway and we utilized every last bit of it in California's Lost Coast. We mixed up rocks that would make Jeep proprietors recoil, barreled down 2 tracks without stress, and swam through water in excess of a foot down. Better believe it, it can. Solace, well-being and highlights. The Outback holds up to 5 grown-ups without any difficulty, with an excess of 30 cubic feet of payload extra room behind them. The front seats get great reinforces with adequate thigh support. The back seats lean back somewhat for long separation comfort. Shoulder room could be an issue for certain. Loggers should call shotgun rapidly. Overlap the subsequent line down and the Outback opens up in excess of 70 cubic feet of payload room, enough for every one of the packs, pounds, trail rigging, and tents we could discover. Standard rooftop racks are the place the kayaks and bikes will live. Each Outback is furnished with life-sparing crisis tech including programmed crisis braking and airbags. Dynamic path control and versatile voyage control are standard, as well, and both are improved over earlier cycles. Vulnerable side screens and front-oriented cameras are spend-up additional items. Base Outbacks cost under $28,000 and incorporate twin 7.0-inch touchscreens for infotainment and vehicle capacities, with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto similarity. Control highlights, Bluetooth network, all-wheel drive, material upholstery, 2 USB charge ports, 17-inch wheels, a split collapsing back seat, and LED headlights. One stage up to an Outback Premium that's a 11.6-inch touchscreen, 2 more USB charge ports for backseat riders, control flexible driver's seat, warmed front seats, double-zone atmosphere control, and sound-protecting front windows for a calmer lodge. It's an incentive at under $30,000. Subaru's fashioners didn't strike out toward another path for the new 2020 Outback. Scarcely any individuals may see the contrasts between this form and last year's. Be that as it may, couple of vehicles are as in a flash unmistakable out and about as an Outback. In the event that it ain't broke ... and so on. The Outback is a 5 on our scale. The new Outback wears stacked LED haze lights on most models, and its dark body cladding rises somewhat higher on the nose. At the edges, the Outback spares the greater part of its pizzazz for the base of the vehicle, which was purposely intended to resemble the track on a climbing boot. The Outback skips swoopy roof lines, or square-shaped SUV tones for business as usual. Likewise with interior, beside the 11.6-inch touchscreen, the Outback is to a great extent equivalent to the active variant. The inside stack doesn't have its low-situated key carport any longer, it's been supplanted by two USB charge ports and a flimsy canister. The cowl is lower than the active adaptation, and Subaru's little vehicle show is currently coordinated to the touchscreen. It's a help to outward vision and a cleaner look. The current year's extraordinary Outback powertrain doesn't play well with our guidelines. Another Turbo 4 replaces a year ago's parched Level 6 and it ought to look good for high-elevation purchasers. Be that as it may, our rating applies to the base 2.5-liter Level 4, which makes 182 torque, moved through a CVT control every one of the four wheels. The power is sufficient. The ability? Remarkable. It's a 6. Albeit prior variants of the Outback utilized an also measured motor, the 2020 Outback's rendition is new. It's obtained from the current year's Forester and makes 176 pounds-to-foot of torque. The motor feels perkier than it is. Subaru's throttle tip-in is speedy, the pedal hops from 0 to 30% instantly, propelling the Outback certainly off the line. Material science and weight pursue firmly behind and bring the Outback's 0 to 60 miles per hour time back to reality rapidly. Despite everything, it takes around 9 seconds to quicken up to throughway speeds. The Outback's CVT isn't at fault either. The transmission avoids the elastic band feeling for smooth, sure recreated movements when the driver's foot is truly in it, and settles pleasantly when the Outback is on a long lope. Among CVTs from different automakers, Subaru has the most sure and responsive. A discretionary 260 horsepower 2.4-liter Turbo 4 that is obtained from the Ascent is new in the Outback XT, and it costs $2,350 on Outback Limited and Touring models. It's the main motor accessible for Onyx Edition Outbacks. The Turbo 4 replaces the 3.6-liter Level 6 from a year ago, which was exceptionally parched. Subaru gauges that 1 of every 4 purchasers will settle on the uprated motor. We propose 4 out of 4 purchasers over 6,000 feet pick the motor. The XT contracts a couple mpg for the sake of better execution. The XT rates 23 miles per gallon joint versus the 2.5 liters 29 miles per gallon consolidated. The XT's throttle isn't as apprehensive contrasted with the standard motor, which we invited. In our constrained drives of the XT, it pulled off progressively able goes at interstate speeds and required less consideration than the bass motor on the asphalt. Take a hard appropriate unexpected and each variant of the Outback turns into a rough terrain whiz. The Outback has few opponents among hybrids for rough terrain execution, and it's as fit as almost all butch SUVs, as well. Front swaggers and back two-fold wishbones are supplemented by superlative suspension tuning and skeleton solidness that rises above any apparent shortcoming in the powertrain. But basically, the Subaru Outback can almost go any place, easily. We have our niggles, as well. The guiding is excessively light and excessively snappy, and the Outback's brake pedal isn't extremely dynamic. There's almost no punch in hard braking, in any case. What's more, the Outback is for the most part level around corners, regardless of its 8.7 crawls of ground leeway in tall wagon position. That is all supporting proof for how compelling designers were in tuning the Outback's suspension. More seasoned Outbacks were less agreeable as the kayaks riding on top. Not any longer. The new 2020 Outback is another progression for Subaru toward present-day, agreeable insides in their autos, a redesign over the early ages. Take our statement. Beginning from a normal score, it gets focuses better than expected for agreeable front and back seats and with open freight territory. Different vehicles improve, However, those different autos are called extravagance autos and they cost more than $30,000 to begin. Most Outbacks will be shod in convincingly strong material and sides that are attractive and solid. The front seats have satisfactory reinforcements for a scope of body types and sufficient thigh support for whole deals to the trailhead. The delicate upper dash is a stage up for Subaru. Finished plastics of years past are for the most part gone at this point. On the off chance that we have a problem, it's in inside capacity. The glove box opens excessively low for grown-ups to reach in without spreading their legs. The traveler side telephone holder is more enthusiastically plastic that rattles if the telephone vibrates in it, and a discretionary CD player in the inside comfort eats into the accessible room. Entryway pockets and cup holders? On point, however. The back seats tenderly lean back and wide entryway patterns should make stacking youngsters an undoubted breeze, yet we haven't yet fitted a vehicle situate into one. Stay tuned. There's sufficient extra space for 6-footers to sit behind other 6-footers, and headroom might be an issue for the longest middles. We wouldn't whine in the secondary lounge of the Subaru for long. It's splendid and vaporous and agreeable for 2-3 grown-ups with swimmer. Manufacturers may request more shoulder room, so don't welcome the 400-meter mixture handoff on a cross-country excursion without the dry fit first. With the back seats up, the Outback swallows 35.2 cubic feet of freight, which is down from earlier years in spite of a greater Outback this year. Why? Subaru says it's because of changes in authority testing for increasingly precise certifiable figures. Snatch the entryway handle light grasps in the freight territory and dismantle to overlap the subsequent line, and that space opens up to in excess of 75 cubic feet. The heap floor is low, wide, and level, and the incubate pattern is wide, which is an aid to stacking and emptying gear. Like earlier Outbacks, the new model includes rooftop racks with secure focuses prepared for kayaks. The 2020 Outback is too new to even consider ruining. Government and autonomous analyzers haven't crash tried any yet. The Outback is equipped